You're watching Musical Theater Mash.
Hello. I think this worked. Hopefully you can all see me and hear me. This is always the fun adventure of dealing with the delay that the live stream poops out at me. That's right. I said poops out at me. Hopefully let me know in chat if you can see me. Let me know if you can hear me. Feel me, touch me, the Who's Tommy. That got weird real fast. Hello! How are you all doing? I hope everyone's having a lovely winter. We got like a foot of snow in Denver yesterday or 2 days ago now, and it's like Mad Max out here. They never plow, they never do anything, and so it's great. I haven't left the house as much as possible. It's just a wonderful, nice, cozy time in. Hello to everyone. Welcome everyone to the January Patreon live stream. I always, for people watching in the future, if you want to be a part of these live streams when they happen, you can come support me on Patreon. Thank you to all of you in the chat who already have. It helps me purchase equipment that I can use to do these things. It helps me keep these things going, and you get some great perks out of it, including live streams like this. All right, plug done. Here's what I wanted to do today, everyone. What did I do today? I want to work on a script. I saw La La Land last night. I noticed some of you in the chat haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers. I have some mixed opinions on it that maybe I'll talk about in a future separate video. But one of the things La La Land got me thinking about is the place that movie musicals have in the canon, in the literature, in our great big musical theater world. And so what I wanted to do today was pull back some of the curtain on my process. That seems like a bullshitty artist way to put that, but how I go about creating a video, how I go about making that. And this could totally fail. This could be super boring, super uninteresting, or might be really, really cool. No pressure. Feel free to tune out or tune in or put me on in the background, whatever. But all right, I got a bunch of things to click here. All right, you ready for this? I've been testing this out all morning, and hopefully it works. Aha! Yes! Welcome to my computer. Hello. So you can see me up here in the corner. Oh no, which way? That way. This is where I write. I got my Twitter feed going on, which keeps me distracted when I'm trying to write. And just for funsies, all y'all are over here. This will also. It's crazy to me if this works at all. Hopefully you can see this. Hopefully this will be interesting. This is how I write. This kind of setup for this is a little new to me. Usually, so I had an English teacher once tell me that, you start writing the paper long before you ever sit down with pencil and pen or at a typewriter or at whatever. You start writing it in your head for a long time. And so what you see on the screen is only going to be a portion of how I go about this. And to be entirely honest, I usually do my writing in short fits and bursts, and not so much in these kind of long sessions. Sometimes I do these long sessions like this, but sometimes I do a lot of writing on my phone on the way to work, or in the middle of in between classes or things like that. So this is only a partial representation. That said, here's how this usually goes. Just some tech stats for nerds. I write in an app called Ulysses. I love it. It lets me use my own font. Let's call this movie musicals. Maybe. You're also going to see I famously almost failed spelling 8th grade, so get ready for vastly misspelled words throughout this. Technical stats, I use this app called Ulysses. I love it. Ulysses for Mac. It's just a nice, no-nonsense typing app. I like that it has a dark mode. It also syncs automatically to Dropbox, so I always have that peace of mind. This is where with bunches and bunches of different ideas for different. Okay. Oh. I hit refresh. I'd maybe give it a second. I'm looking at you, chat. We were sputtering. Oh, you know what? Can you hear me now? Um. All right. All right. Hang tight, everyone. We're gonna go down in quality, but it might take me a second. Smiley face. Okay, I'll be right back if you're watching this on the video. Can you hear me now? Hi, I'm Paul. You might remember me because I used to say, "Can you hear me now?" for Verizon. But now I've switched to Musical Mash. I don't know why I switched to Musical Mash because clearly he has the least coverage in the country. And I'm gonna. Oh, yay! Okay, thanks, Lee. Hello. Hopefully, I did unplugged a bunch of cables. I ran into the basement of the space station. I kicked the server a whole bunch. Hopefully, we will be back. Thank you all for putting up with my technical difficulties. So, where were we? I was gonna start working on a script. Hot chocolate, by the way, because 'tis the season and I got to get rid of it before it goes stale. Um, so, usually when I start a script, the one of the big secrets I have is I don't actually work on scripts about. I like working on scripts about topics that I only have maybe 60% knowledge of, and one of the ways I learn about more things is by doing videos about them. And so like things like my I Want Songs videos, things like my gay and musical theater videos, things like that company video. I don't go into those with like big ideas of how to write them. I just kind of go in with like a smattering and actually not having a lot of knowledge about what's going to go into it. And so it's the same with movie musicals. I certainly have quite a casual understanding of movie musicals' existence, but there's a lot here that I know that I don't know, and that's the fun of writing this sort of thing. So, as many of you noticed on Twitter, and also therefore on Facebook, I asked what your favorite movie musicals were. And so, usually with things like this, I just start taking down. So, this is going to be fun where I like you just kind of stare at the screen. Can you let me know if you can see this text, if this text needs to be bigger or not? Music Man, Into the Woods, West Side Story, the last 5 years. I love starting out with lists like this because it just kind of spurs my mind, and usually they're things that I've heard of, but you know, when you're trying to think of things all on your own, it's much easier if you can reference a list and like hear where other people what other people have said. Oh, and Hairspray. Um, I'll put Tommy. I can make this text a little bigger for y'all, maybe. Whoop. Let's see. All right. There we go. Funny girl. Singing in the rain. I got Little Shop. Sound of Music. Fiddler. On the Roof. Ooh. On the Roof. West Side Story I've got. Last 5 years. Chicago. Oh no, I got that one. Sweeney Todd. Phantom. Stage Fright. Hedwig. For sure. I really enjoy Stage Fright. 1776. Beauty and the Beast. This is where, so I have a suspicion that there's a lot of categories that are going to start to develop. Mamma Mia, Annie, Godspell, Joseph. Isn't it fun just to watch someone type? Reefer Madness. Good choices. The Producers. Wicked is not a movie musical, but thanks for that. White Christmas. Newsies. Mary Poppins. Okay. The Wizard of Oz. I know there's a Wicked in the works. Hopefully they'll get it out soon enough. In 2019, I think someone commented on my New Year's video. Little Shop, Chicago, Into the Woods. Oh, help me out. BATB. Beauty and the Beast. Got it. The Last 5 Years, La La Land, Les Mis, Dream Girls. We are Dream Girls. All right, and I think that's where I started. So what is also interesting, and thanks, Bye Bye Birdie, and I'm sure there's other stuff too. And you're not allowed to see it, but I've got my Facebook over here. I'm running 2 screens now. One you're allowed to see, and one with like all my streaming stuff, which would just be confusing. We're gonna get to that article in a second. But I've got some comments on oh my God, I've got like 30 comments on my Facebook page. Okay, hold on. Wow. Just doing some skimming. Singing in the Rain. Wizard of Oz. Okay, Sunday in the Park. And we're just, so like things like Sunday in the Park, right? And there were a couple others in here. Someone mentioned the live recorded Newsies. These are things that I actually probably am not gonna, thank you about my desktop background. These are things that I'm probably not gonna qualify as movie musicals later on. But in this kind of brainstorming phase, I don't like to cut out ideas. I like to, better to bulk up your writing now and then cut later and kind of put those in separate buckets. I put The Music Man there. Gold Diggers of 1933, Deep Cuts. Did I put Kiss Me Kate? I don't think so. Kiss Me Kate. Someone auto-corrected. They meant to type Phantom of the Opera, but they typed Phantom of the Paradise. I don't think that's a movie. Mama. Did I put Mamma Mia? We'll put it again just for good. Hello, Dolly. Across the Universe. These are some good ones. Hello, Dolly. Oliver. Phantom of the Paradise is? All right, Googling briefly. Phantom of the Paradise. Well, look at what I know. Is a 1974 American musical horror comedy film. All right, Phantom of the Paradise. Holiday Inn. Shade the Rusical. These are new to me. Shade the Rusical. This is a movie musical? Oh, ha. This is a RuPaul episode? Got it. Great. Funny Face. High Society. Robin and the Seven Hoods. I think it's stylized. 7 is the number. And I guess that's a lot of the Rat Pack movies. Into the Woods. Chicago. Did I put Les Mis? Probably not. Moulin Rouge. Okay. Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping. That's the Lonely Island one. So this is where this is like when people ask about these sort of things as if they're a musical, it starts expanding my borders and like what makes a movie musical? This is good. Brigadoon, Gigi, Grease, Repo, the Genetic Oprah, Meet Me in St. Louis, Summer Stock, all those good Mickey and Judy ones. The Sound of Music, Funny Girls, Sweet Charity. All right, so 54-ish musicals. A great start. One of the other, oh, okay, yes, South Park, the South Park movie for sure. One of the other secrets about things like this, when I ask the internet for movie musicals they've heard of, I'm also secretly asking about things they haven't heard of because one of my ongoing goals with this is always to inform and find the what is it, the newer pieces that people haven't heard of. Okay, so yeah, Pink Floyd. And we might as well I'll put Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine. And there's other things in that kind of Beatles world now. So then once I start with things like this is how, so like my TV episode sort of one started. I like to, it's fun to find the categories. So here are the ones, let's, we'll have to do this one by one. But I like to find the categories that start to develop. So there's definitely a big stage to screen contingent going on here. Things like Chicago, things like Cabaret, things like Little Shop. And I know that like Little Shop did the screen stage screen jump the same way that like Hairspray did. Into the Woods, West Side Story, Last 5 Years. These are all stage to screen. I did not get Cinderella 97. That's also, that's in its own category too, isn't it? Because it started on TV and then was a made-for-TV movie. Hairspray. Funny Girl? Yeah. Right? This is also where all of my lack of knowledge. No? Funny Girl started as a film. Wait. Funny Girl, the musical, 1963. Funny Girl, the film, 1968. Funny Girl, stage screen, great. Fiddler, Sweeney, Phantom. I lost that T somewhere. If anyone knows where that T goes, let me know. Hedwig in 1776. It goes on the end of Stage Fright. That's where it goes. And on and on and on. I have a suspicion I don't want to talk about these kind of musicals in great depth in this video. So I'm actually going to get rid of just a lot of these. Annie, Godspell, Joseph. No, because I want to talk about something like Grief or Madness. So let's put these up here. This is also the sort of thing, I prefer doing this sort of stuff on a computer, but a lot of people do these sorts of things. Lucy started as a film, so it doesn't go. Mary Poppins started as a film. I have Into the Woods twice. This is also the sort of thing, if you're more a tactile kinesthetic learner, you can do this sort of thing with note cards, with Post-it notes. A lot of people find that much easier. This is my way of doing it, but you do it your own way. All right. For everyone's sake, I'm going to zoom us out a little bit so I can kind of see the whole list. You'll trust me that I'm arranging this. Kiss Me, Kate. Hello, Dolly. Mamma Mia. Oliver? Yeah. Les Mis. Also, it got my spelling of pop star wrong. Yeah, so the producers also start. The producers, Hairspray. What else did I mention? Little Shop did the three-way jump where it started as a straight film, became a stage musical based on the straight film, and then became a movie musical based on the stage musical based on the film. That a topic for maybe another specific video. Grease, Brigadoon. So lots of things here. So then you get to see kind of some of the other categories that are developing. And there's certainly more to sort here, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. Oh, yes, we totally forgot about the High School Musical series. Technically starts as a TV made-for-movie musical, but I'll put it in here. It's a lot of musical movie inception for sure. Reefer Madness started. So Reefer Madness, I do want to talk about a bunch in this movie because I think Reefer Madness got its best chance as a movie because the stage musical was different in a lot of ways, but that's further down the line. So trends I see developing. Let's call this original contemporary movie musicals. Again, no spoilers, but La La Land goes in this category. So does Stage Fright. So for sure does Moulin Rouge. So does Across the Universe. Yeah. Then we've got Disney, which is a category of its own for sure. So that's Mary Poppins was on here, right? There it is, Mary Poppins and Newsies. And certainly everything else. I won't list them all, but everything Disney makes is a movie musical. Then, so I've got this kind of category. Then this is where, oh yeah, Legally Blonde. Well, that's just a recording of a stage performance. I am going to kind of limit those because this is the other one of the problems about working on a video too is there is such a large width and depth of the thing you can work on, and you have to stop somewhere. Your video can only be so long, you can only cover so much, and one of my goals is to condense and make some kind of storyline out of this. Repo's original, and you belong here. Then so this other category is like the MGM ish golden age of musicals. I will do more research. I'm sure a lot of these are MGM, but some of them aren't. So things like Singin' in the Rain, that definitely headlines that category. Mamma Mia goes way up here. I'm going to unindent you all because... Oh, no, I'm not. Well, for another time. MGM-ish Golden Age, that's White Christmas, that's Holiday Inn and Funny Face and High Society. Funny Face, original on film, I think. Doing research, American musical romantic comedy film. Okay. And this is always where it gets tricky. Although having the same title as the 1927 Broadway musical Funny Face by the Gershwin brothers and featuring the same male star, Fred Astaire, the plot is totally different, and only 4 of the songs from the stage musical are included. So this is also because I find this a lot with musical theater. Where did I put Funny Face? Oh, I put it in right. With musical theater categories, because we're in... our sample size isn't very large. There aren't actually a lot of musicals in the world compared to other pieces of literature. It is sometimes difficult to find some really, really black and white categories. There's always a little bit of bending going on when you do this sort of stuff. Robin and the Seven Hoods. I think this category is something I want to explore a bunch. Sweet Charity kind of goes in here, kinda. Sweet Charity's 70s, though, so we're getting a little later. I think, he says. People expect me to be an expert on these things. It's like I run a YouTube channel about it or something. There is Paint Your Wagon. Yeah, the film is the film, that's for sure. Sweet Charity started on Broadway. All right. So this goes here, even though it's not contemporary as much. And then I think there are these oddballs. Things like South Park. Whoop. Things like Pop Star Never Stop Popping. Let's see. All these go here. Clearly I don't know what where am I? What Phantom of the Paradise is. American musical horror comedy film. Well, this just sounds hilarious and awful. Maybe parody? Yeah. I'm going to put Phantom of the Paradise here. It seems like a 70s, 1974 take on Phantom, but is also kind of rock opera-ish. This is also where I think things like Tommy, things like Pink Floyd and Yellow Submarine go. Cinderella, I'm going to put up here in stage to screen, even though that's how it feels. This is MGM, I think. Gold Diggers of 1933. Yeah. Warner Brothers, but same idea. Phantom of the Parody. Yeah. I haven't actually seen Pop Star, but it is definitely kind of weird parody. It like has singing, but is not a musical. And then High School Musical. I appreciate it, but I've done a lot on High School Musical. So then you start seeing things like this. Certainly there are all these stage to screen adaptations, and there's so much here that this is something I actually don't want to talk about too much. So once I see these categories, these are how my documents usually end up. There'll be long sections of like researchy stuff like this. I like to keep as much of the information in the same document as possible, because then it all just transfers as one, and if it's all just text, I can segment it. Sometimes I'll give them headings. In markup, that's a $. So these are lists and categories. This is just going to bother me. There we go. Lists and categories, and then we'll do. It does this heading. There's no heading here yet. But so I've got stage to screen, Disney, classic movie musicals, and then maybe this one. There's some, like, so then this is where I start drawing the connections in my mind. Usually I don't have to say these things out loud, so it's hard to articulate them. And also, disclaimer, no promises that any of this is going to make it into the video. I have all sorts of scripts that start and never go anywhere because I can't quite draw the connections. But the connection that is stemming in my mind is there's something here between these classic movie musicals, MGM, Golden Age sort of stuff, and this like original contemporary movie musicals. You can, those of you who've seen La La Land, there's something sparked in my mind about this. Like, why are we? Oh, and this is why. So spoilers for La La Land, maybe, but this is where this article comes from. Was this the one I was reading? Maybe this comes from the same interview, but they've been interviewing Damien Chazelle, if that's how you say his name, the writer and director for La La Land, about his creation and about things like that. And he talks a lot about these big song and dance movies, MGM, Singin' in the Rain, and how he drew some inspiration from that. But so this guy also did Whiplash and is a big experimental filmmaker. And so he's not I would wager he's not coming into a movie like La La Land from a really explicit love of musical theater, the same way I enter most of my life. And I think it is interesting to talk about, I've talked about this in a couple different locations, but the fact that we consider musical theater a genre and using some of the benefits and faults of that in a medium like film, and like what the nuances are there. Disney animated, yeah, that's a good call. Because that includes things then like Anastasia and Swan Princess, but also excludes things like Mary Poppins, which I would actually put more in these kind of classic movie musicals. And then we've got these original contemporary movie musicals, things like Moulin Rouge and Moulin Rouge and La La Land, I think especially, and Across the Universe are high on that list. I think Stage Fright and Repo are there, but they're in a lower category in that kind of world. So then this is how these things start to develop. And then this is where usually I start doing a little bit more research. So after I've gotten some kind of pop sense, either from the internet or just from my own kind of brain barf of what's happening. I'm trying to drag a window across these screens and it's not working. Here you can see I was looking up the Gold Diggers. This is when I start doing my Wikipedia-ing and seeing if there's like a list of movie musicals. Because usually there is, and usually it's exhaustive. So let's do this AFI because that's usually great. When you look at these sort of things, there's usually too much information. And because it is already kind of self-sorted, there's only 25? Okay. Because it is self-sorted too, someone else's editorial has gone into this, which I'd like to avoid on my first go into something. But the AFI lists are usually pretty good because they're usually very pop culture, very much related to what people have seen. So let's see what's on here and let's see what we've missed. Singing the Red West Side Story, Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music, Cabaret, Mary Poppins, A Star is Born. That's the Judy Garland one, right? Yeah. My Fair Lady, An American Paris, Meet Me in St. Louis, The King and I, Chicago, 42nd Street, which is based on the stage musical? Or yeah. No, I don't know. All right. Musical based on the movie. Yeah, thank you, Maple. So Top Hat, all that jazz. So there's a lot of golden oldie in here that we're missing. And then things like Grease. Beauty and the Beast is the only animated, the only animated one on here. And then Showboat and Moulin Rouge very far down. That's interesting to me too, because I do think a lot of contemporary I'm sorry, I didn't realize my head was covering up some of this. That's interesting to me too, because a lot of contemporary movie musicals, let's just talk about Frozen. Like that is where a lot of musical theater exists nowadays. So then this is always the big leap. This is always the part where I sit on this sort of thing for days and go through a couple different drafts to figure out where we go from here, where we go next, what we talk about. So I would probably, it's harder to do on the spot, but I have some inklings. I would probably, my mind is going, what is the best way to present this kind of information? I don't remember any of it because it wasn't my specialty, but there are all the talks in history education majors talk about this all the time. How do you present history? How do you present the past? Do you use a chronological narrative? Do you go in order? We do a lot of that with history, but not always, and sometimes it's not the best way to do things. Do you do it from the perspective of a certain nation or from a certain ideology? Do you follow a certain person through history? And like, how do you you have the facts as they exist, but they're always filtered through some kind of narrative lens, always through some kind of structure lens. And so this is what my mind turns over. What's the best structure to discuss and present this information, and is there a thesis I want to make? Something, so it could just be about all these things, or it could be about like concepts in that are particular to movie musicals, right? Because let's say, so things like non what's let's call this more flexible choreography. Right on the first time, boom, that's a word I'm working on. So things like, La La Land did this really well. But even things like Gene Kelly directing Hello Dolly does this very well. Like, you don't, when you're filming a musical, your choreography can kind of extend in 360 degrees, whereas on stage you only have 180 degrees most of the time. A lot of movie musicals stick to what's called the 180 degree rule, which is, it's the sitcom rule. Like, there's always the camera's always on one plane. It keeps the audience kind of grounded, but some movie musicals don't do that. So I could call that, what did I just say? So 180 degrees versus 360 degrees. Let's see. More flexible choreography. What are other concepts particular to movie musicals? So there's the big... Oh, how the heck do you spell his name? Busby Berkeley. Busby Berk... E-L-E-Y. All right. There's this kind of... Bubsy Berkeley, like, everyone in the number concepts. Dubbing for sure. So these are, I'm trying to think, yes, things like dubbing, things like you can do multiple cuts, but I'm trying to think of not the cheats from movie musicals, but like, why make a movie musical in the first place? What's something you can do in a movie musical that you can't do on stage, which is why I've also kind of relegated a lot of these stage to screen adaptations up here, because a lot of them, they're great. Like, things like West Side Story and Sound of Music are a part of our film canon. I mean, they were on this list, weren't they? West Side Story, Sound of Music, like 100%. But they come from a place of trying to translate the stage musical to the screen. And I think because of that, they forego a lot of initial flexibility, and because they're trying to replicate that experience. And I feel like a lot of these classic movie musical adaptations try and do that to an extent. So I'm trying to think of the like really particular things. But I don't know. This is brainstorming is amorphous and blobby and messy. And I could be babbling things that I will totally disagree with when this video finally comes out. But like big epic numbers, location numbers, you get to actually climb a mountain in something like Sound of Music. Animated, I think that belongs in there somewhere. So like this would be another way to categorize things beyond just, this sort of stuff. You could categorize things by like the things they do. Concepts particular, challenges of movie musicals. Okay, yeah, CGI. I'm going to put that in here because there's even things like, have you seen that, like when Gene Kelly dances with Tom and Jerry? Like there are some things you do on film that kind of fall into this kind of broad category. Challenges of movie musicals, even things like no intermission sometimes. There are some old movie musicals that have them. No applause. I noticed this one during La La Land. let's call this varying shots, close up, wide shots. I've always, you can never put Ethel Merman. Yeah, no audience to bounce off, no applause. Audience. That's a good way to put that. Varying shots, things like Ethel Merman would not do well in a close-up singing. That even when she's on TV and they kind of zoom in on her face and she's belting really loud, that makes me uncomfortable. And so like this is a challenge and a pro. Yeah, you aren't stuck on stage, so do I have that? Yeah, location numbers. Mary Poppins was exciting because it's a mix of animation and live action. So like things like that makes, that kind of movie magic that's beyond stage magic. Which I think I could, that goes in here somewhere. Movie magic. And that kind of goes beyond. No, what am I trying to say? Kind of fits with the motif of bursting out into song. It is more believable that people would jump into a chalk pavement picture in a piece of art where everyone's already bursting out into song. You know what I mean? Like, because we've already reached that level of suspension of disbelief, like the dam is broke in that direction. Let's see. Challenges, concepts. I mean, so then this is where I'm not up to chops, but like, just the story of history could also be another way to go at this video. Like, if you think about how entertainment existed, we had these music hall vaudeville vaudeville performances. Stunt casting. I'm going to put that in here. We had these kind of live music hall vaudeville performances, and the first talkies kind of tried to replicate those sort of things. So, we could go at this by just starting out with the jazz singer, and how when it was a novelty, when talking in pictures was analogous to like 3D pictures. I want to remember this. When talking in pictures was analogous to having what we would now consider something like 3D on stage, of course, then you're going to have people sing. Because in the same way, in a 3D picture, you're going to have someone yo-yo at the camera, right? You want to show off that concept. And then you just had the transfer of things like Oklahoma, of success on Broadway to success on screen. Before movies, the widest audience was on Broadway to an extent. And so they're taking the things that are popular there and bringing them into this new media. Like this, I think, I forget who asked this. The question of why do we have movie musicals? That's kind of the beginning of an answer to that, right? One of the reasons we have movie musicals is because of how the medium developed. So like that's another way into this sort of thing. And often so I will start by these sort of things, and then like I might move things through different categories, or I'll find connections between like these concepts into, how they fit into the history. And then what I'll start doing is I'll start like I don't know enough about Bubsy Berkeley, and I know that has a lot to like I want to so let's call this things to research. Bubsy Berkeley, MGM, Golden Age musicals, like I think things like the whole MGM studio culture, certainly we have to blame for Judy Garland and all of the Wizard of Oz, what a lot of people call the great musicals of all time. The Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, like these are core parts of our culture, come from there, and I need to know more about that. I also wonder, the dying age of musicals. Like I suspect, so I go back and forth on this. I don't think if you asked a casual passerby, do we have more or fewer movie musicals today than we did in the past? They will inevitably say we have fewer movie musicals now than we did half a century ago. And my gut tells me that that's actually a misanalysis of the data. I think what happened was, I lost my mouse. There it is. We have maybe a couple fewer movie musicals than we did half a century ago. But really what we have are more movies. And so a smaller percentage of the movies being made are musicals, but there's still plenty that come out every year. Everything from Disney to now, Into the Woods to Les Mis to Sweeney Todd to Across the Universe to how long ago was Moulin Rouge. I mean, La La Land this year. And we point them out as like, yes, the musical that happened this year. And maybe we have a couple fewer than the MGM studio days where every other show was a musical. But I think that's just because our entertainment has changed. I'm putting that as a question mark here. Yes, the renaissance of movie musicals people talk about every time a new one comes out, right? This is the thing. It's like, and people are saying it with La La Land too, that it's the rebirth of the movie musical. Like it never died. Certainly, I think we're lucky to live in an age we do where these things happen all the time. But people have been watching movie musicals for years. It's easy to pish-posh the Disney trap, but who hasn't seen Aladdin or Lion King or Beauty and the Beast? The current, the live-action Beauty and the Beast is looking very much like it's going to be musical, or at least have a musical element. Like they're maybe this is the myth of the dying age of musicals. And people also blame, so let's see, blamed on changing tastes. This is This is also often blamed on rock and roll. There's a lot of now dated books that blame the decline of musical theater on the prevalence of rock and roll, and I think it just changed what the musical is. How about things like Yellow Submarine? How about all the Beatles ones, Pink Floyd, The Who's Tommy? Those are fall very squarely into this kind of musical theater realm. Let's call this roll. There we go. It's just the kind of musical that author liked doesn't exist as much anymore. But that's something different and an important connotation to point out. I feel my concept bloating here. So this is also a problem I have. It is important that this remain, I mean, maybe not, but my goal is for this to remain talking about movie musicals, and I already feel my mind straying into like the history of just musical theater in general, which is not my intent. I'm I'm voicing my like internal author thoughts here, but they're just like reminders like, okay, Tommy, remember, you wanted to write this thing, not that big thing. They did choose a bad clip to leak. I listened to that one. This is the question I have is like, is it a clip from the movie or is it a clip from the soundtrack? Did they have it recorded for the thing? I don't know. This is why I said it's looking like, not like probably, but maybe probably. I don't know. About Beauty and the Beast. Yes. It's alarming. My focus is going. So this is how it starts. I have maybe 30 or 40 documents that look just like this that are 16 or 17 times as long, with different categories, with different sorts of indented notes. What I really want, and if anyone knows of any better, I like working in markup because it's just a text document, so I can move it through different things. Markup is a kind of it's a markup language. That's confusing. That you can write in. And I like writing in markup. What I really want is a text editor where I can just rearrange lines then, do that kind of note card rearranging corkboard sort of thing, because I do a lot of that. Like, I'll be like, I want all of this, but I want it further down. And I haven't found quite, I can do stuff like that, but it still takes some time. So I'm looking for something like that. But then I'll take this, and then once this gets really, really big, what I'll actually do is I will export it to a PDF. And I used to print them out, but now I do it on my iPad, which is serving as my second screen right now. And I will hand correct them with a goal towards cutting, a goal towards breaking it down. I want to see, I'm going to do this over here. If I can find one of my edited scripts for y'all. This is why on cooking shows they go, and here's one I've prepared earlier. Let's see. No, those are all... I will find one, I promise. Thank you for... Okay, hang tight. Talk amongst yourselves. This is gonna take a hot second. Where do I want to be here? Okay, here's a good one. Can I share you? Where is my share button? Export all pages to Dropbox. Upload. Boop, boop, boo. Then here we go. So this is the script for my Miscast Witches. I don't know what draft this is. This might be a mostly final draft. After I get all of these, yes, you should be muttering about bananas and watermelon. After I get all these categories worked out, each one then turns into its own kind of text bite. I write it out in Tommy speak, and I usually do it out loud. I'll I'll be like, before movies, the widest audience you could reach was on Broadway to an extent. So the widest audience you could reach was on Broadway, taking things that are popular popular there, bring them in. So like I would take this sort of thing and read it out loud until it makes sense in my voice, write it all out, and then I will often do this in conjunction with watching the media that I want to use during the project, because I want to sometimes seamlessly cut into a piece from that media, and so I want to write that in after I build it up. This is an editing strategy called building and cutting. You have one place like this on my computer where I build the text, where I type it up and I make it longer and longer and longer. Then you have another place where you cut it, and you only do those two things in the different modes. So after I build it, I will go to cutting it. Here is a PDF I exported to my iPad, and then I like doing this tactily with my fingers. I used to do this on printed out pieces of paper, then I got a really nice iPad Pro that I like, and sometimes I'll type on the iPad Pro too, but then this one I will, with an Apple Pencil, circle and cross things out. So this was my script for Miscast Witches, Into the Woods, one of Sondheim's most beloved and most produced musicals. You'll see I've scripted everything out I'm going to say. From the smallest productions, Into the Woods, I threw up in my mouth a little, and like sometimes I'll edit them on the fly too, which is always crazy when I spend so much time editing them like this. But so here, but the question remains, I turn this into, and so you know what the question is. So grab your cow, hold on to your beans, and let's go into the woods. And I cut to find out right here. When I make these videos, and so you can see my awful chicken scratch going on, but on and on and on, I will cut. This one doesn't have too much cuts because it's a very late draft. Sometimes these are covered in red pen. And this is, I export them with lots of space so I can do this sort of stuff. And then I will take this sort of draft, and then I will put it back into Ulysses. I'll start a new document, do all the corrections, and then I'll export it again and go back and forth between the drafts until I get to something pretty close to this, or until I get close to a deadline I set to myself, and I'm like, well, just got to do it now. And that's the process. That's how this works. Most of the time. I think with stuff like this, this is a thing I struggle with a lot. It's hard being an artist, but not in the ways people think. We have this conception of artists as these sort of tortured souls, which is certainly true for some people. But I don't think that's all artists. And I do think a lot of that is manufactured because it's also fun. Fun isn't the right word, but interesting. It is interesting to imagine, J.K. Rowling being the down and out, single parent writing Harry Potter on the back of a napkin in a coffee shop in England, right? Like that there's something romanticized about that kind of picture. But a lot of artistry is just setting up these sort of systems and having something in place that can like get your mind going. Like this is all a strategy, I really struggle to like get this content out to begin with. I can turn this into, talking sounded stuff easy. Like that's the easy part, but actually manufacturing, synthesizing the content, that's, I know, my stumbling block. And so it's why I've developed this kind of listing strategy. And for all artists, you develop your own strategies and you figure out what works and you figure out what doesn't. And I think also the other important thing is to never feel too stuck to this. There are a couple videos that I don't do this for. Things like my shows of the week, when I get my act together and do them. I don't spend all this time scripting them out. I might jot down one or two notes here and there, but I don't, write down everything I'm going to say. And I think that's a useful exercise too, because it lets me practice my voice part. It lets me also practice the other parts of this process that I haven't shown you today, like the editing and even things just like the uploading and making the thumbnail and all that kind of like YouTube minutia that, is part of the art as well, even though it seems kind of bureaucratic at times. So that's where I sit on this. It's all very weird. Every time I describe the existence of what I used to call my secret musical theater YouTube channel to someone else, I almost always involuntarily describe it as weird, as like I will never understand it. It is wonderful and amazing and magical to me that this thing exists, but it is also strange to me, and it is a new media that no one has figured out, that everyone is still just kind of experimenting with and trying with. And you see it happen, like a new trend. It's like memes plus, it's like viral plus. You see a new trend happening, and then you see other people trying to create that. You see BuzzFeed have success with their people trying different kinds of crazy Hawaiian food, and now there's a million different channels that do that. Or you see people like, I'll explain to you the 16 rules behind the Electoral College, and then you see all sorts of other channels trying to do that, and on and on and on, and everyone is trying to jump on or create the latest trend. And so all that to say, none of this is sacred. None of this is the right way to do it. It's just the way I do it. I encourage you, if you've ever thought about making a YouTube channel or any kind of artistic expression, especially like this kind of internet stuff, really low price to entry stuff, just do it. Just go do it. Turn on your webcam, hit record, start talking, upload it. The best way to learn is to fail a whole bunch of times in a row. Just go way back in my videos and you'll see plenty. And then eventually you'll develop these systems for yourself that will help you convince yourself that you're doing at least something concrete and worthwhile. That's about the time I have. I hope this was informative and interesting. I'm probably going to put up this whole thing uncut, just so if you're watching this in the future, you have a whole sense of how this, how we make the sausage, how videos make it to YouTube. Once again, here I'm going to click a button here. Hi, it's just me. Once again, thank you, chat. Thank you, everyone who supported me on Patreon. As I've mentioned in a previous video, I feel like I've fallen down a little bit, and I'm working on getting back on the horse. So thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for keeping up with me. I'm sure this will not be the last time I say something like that too, but I always keep trying. If you want to be a part of future live streams like this, you can click on that thing. If I remember to put an annotation on it, it'll take you to patreon.com/musicalmash, where you can pledge and be a part of these live streams, or watch them in the future. If you watch these things, if you enjoy these things, that means the world to me. It always means the world to me, and will continue to be my weird secret musical theater YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Say goodbye, chat. Bye, chat. And I'll see you all another time. Ta-ta. And he clicks all the buttons. Loop, 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 loop.